The start of a new year is a powerful moment. It is a chance to leave behind what no longer serves you and step into a life of clarity, focus, and purpose. But most resolutions fail because we try to change too much at once, or we rely on willpower alone. True productivity is not about working harder or faster. It is about training the mind, building habits, and moving through each day with awareness. In this video, I will share 10 habits that can transform the way you work, think, and live in 2026. These are not quick hacks or fleeting tips. They are mindful practices designed to help you focus deeply, protect your energy, complete tasks with care, and create lasting momentum. By applying these habits, you can start the year with calm confidence, achieve more without strain, and feel fully present in every moment. If you are ready to move beyond overwhelm and distraction and truly conquer 2026 with clarity and purpose, this video is for you. Each day is born before your thoughts awaken, yet most people meet the morning already chasing something. They reach for the phone, the calendar, the weight of unfinished tasks. In doing so, the mind begins the day in reaction rather than direction. Productivity does not suffer because there is too little time. It suffers because intention arrives too late. To begin the day with intention is to decide, quietly and clearly, how you will meet the hours ahead. This does not require ambition or pressure, it requires honesty. Ask yourself what truly matters today, not what shouts the loudest. One meaningful task, done with care, has more power than 10 tasks done with restlessness. When intention is clear, effort becomes lighter and attention stops scattering. Urgency is seductive. It creates the illusion of importance, but urgency often belongs to other people's fears, not your own purpose. When you allow urgency to lead, the mind becomes narrow. Breath shortens, mistakes multiply. When intention leads, the mind opens. Breath slows, actions align naturally. This is why monks begin the day in stillness before movement. Stillness sets the direction, movement simply follows. Choose a simple intention each morning, not a list, not a fantasy of productivity. Choose a quality of mind you wish to embody: clarity, patience, steadiness. Let this quality guide how you answer messages, how you work, how you pause. The task itself matters less than the way you meet it. When the day ends, what brings peace is not how much you completed, but whether your actions matched your intention. A day lived with intention feels complete, even if many things remain undone. This is the first habit of true productivity. Begin from clarity, not from haste. The mind believes it can hold many things at once. It takes pride in juggling tasks, switching screens, dividing attention. Yet this belief is a source of quiet exhaustion. When the mind is pulled in many directions, nothing is fully received, and nothing is truly finished. Productivity fades not because effort is lacking, but because presence is thin. To do one thing fully is an act of respect. Respect for the task, respect for time, and respect for your own mind. When attention rests on a single action, the body relaxes, the breath deepens, the work begins to move at its own pace. What once felt heavy becomes simple. What felt slow becomes efficient. This is not because you are rushing, but because nothing is being wasted. Multitasking is often praised, yet it fractures the mind. Each switch leaves a trace of distraction behind. By the end of the day, the mind feels busy but strangely empty. When you commit to one task, you give the mind a place to settle. In settling, it gains strength. In strength, it gains clarity. Begin by choosing one task and setting everything else aside, even if only for a short time. Do not rush toward completion. Stay with the process. Feel the movements of the hands, the flow of thought, the rhythm of effort. When the task is finished, pause before reaching for the next one. Let completion be complete. Moving on too quickly teaches the mind that nothing deserves full attention. Moving on calmly teaches the mind trust. Trust that there is enough time. Trust that focus is more valuable than speed. One thing done fully carries less fatigue than many things done halfway. This habit trains the mind to remain where it is. A mind that stays is a productive mind. When you learn to finish one thing before beginning another, your work becomes quieter, cleaner, and more meaningful. This is how progress accumulates without strain. The mind is like a clear pool of water. When left undisturbed, it reflects everything accurately. When constantly stirred, it becomes cloudy, even if the water itself is pure. Much of what people call lack of focus is simply a mind that has been disturbed too often by sounds, images, opinions, and endless information. Noise is not only what you hear, it is what you allow to enter. Every notification, every headline, every unnecessary conversation leaves a small ripple. One ripple is harmless. Thousands create turbulence. Productivity declines not because the mind is weak, but because it is never given the chance to settle. To guard the mind from noise is not to reject the world. It is to choose wisely what deserves your attention. Silence is a form of nourishment. Just as the body needs rest between meals, the mind needs space between inputs. Without space, nothing can be digested. Create clear boundaries around your attention. Decide when you will receive information and when you will not. Do not let devices decide for you. When the mind is constantly interrupted, even simple tasks feel demanding. When interruptions are reduced, effort becomes steady and calm. Notice how often you reach for distraction when discomfort arises. Noise is often used to avoid boredom, uncertainty, or effort. Yet these moments are doorways to depth. If you stay with them, the mind strengthens. If you escape them, the mind weakens. A guarded mind is not a closed mind, it is a protected one. When fewer things enter, what remains becomes clearer. Ideas deepen, decisions improve, work gains direction. In silence, you hear what truly matters. This habit is gentle but powerful. By reducing noise, you recover your natural ability to focus. Productivity returns not through force but through clarity. A quiet mind moves efficiently because it knows where it is going. Many people obey the clock as if it were a master. They force themselves to work when the mind is dull and rest when the mind is alive. In doing so, effort becomes strained and time feels heavy. Productivity does not come from strict schedules alone. It comes from understanding energy. Energy rises and falls throughout the day like the tide. There are moments when the mind is sharp and receptive, and moments when it resists even simple tasks. To ignore this rhythm is to struggle unnecessarily. To work with it is to move with less resistance. Observe when your mind feels clear, when concentration comes easily, and when fatigue appears. Protect the periods of high energy for work that requires thinking, creativity, or decision. Leave routine or simple tasks for times when energy is lower. This is not indulgence, it is wisdom. Forcing deep work when the mind is tired breeds frustration. Resting when the mind is alert breeds restlessness. When effort and energy are aligned, work flows, time seems to expand, even though the clock moves at the same pace. Rest is also part of rhythm. Short pauses restore attention more effectively than long stretches of forced effort. A few moments of stillness can reset the mind more than an hour of distracted work. Rest taken with awareness is productive, not wasteful. When you honor your natural rhythm, discipline becomes gentler. You are no longer fighting yourself. You are cooperating with the body and mind as they are. Productivity then feels less like pressure and more like continuity. This habit teaches you to listen inwardly rather than obey rigid expectations. When work follows energy, effort becomes sustainable. Over time, this creates a steady pace that carries you forward without exhaustion. There is a tendency to divide life into important moments and unimportant ones. Large goals are treated with seriousness, while small tasks are rushed, delayed, or done with resentment. Yet the mind does not know the difference between small and large actions. It only knows the quality of attention brought to each moment. When a small task is treated as insignificant, the mind wanders. Carelessness appears. Irritation grows. Over time, this habit spills into larger work. Productivity weakens not because tasks are difficult, but because attention has been trained to drift. To treat small tasks as sacred practice is to bring full presence to what is in front of you, regardless of scale. Washing a cup, answering an email, organizing a desk, each action becomes an opportunity to practice steadiness. When attention is complete, even simple tasks carry a sense of calm completion. Sacred does not mean solemn, it means sincere. It means doing what you are doing without resistance or impatience. When you stop wishing the task were over, the task stops feeling heavy. Energy that was spent on complaining returns to the work itself. This habit trains the mind to remain grounded. Instead of seeking stimulation, the mind learns satisfaction in completion. Over time, this creates a quiet confidence. You begin to trust yourself to handle what is given, one action at a time. Productivity grows naturally from this attitude. When small tasks are done cleanly, they no longer pile up and create mental clutter. The mind feels lighter. Larger projects feel less intimidating because attention has already been trained. By honoring small actions, you honor the present moment. When the present moment is respected, work becomes a form of practice rather than a burden. This steadiness carries into everything you do. Many people rest with a hidden tension. Even while sitting still, the mind measures what remains undone. This kind of rest does not restore, it only delays fatigue. True rest is not the absence of activity, but the absence of self-judgment. When rest is taken with guilt, the body pauses but the mind continues to labor. Energy does not return because attention is still divided. Productivity then becomes fragile, relying on willpower rather than renewal. To rest without guilt is to understand that rest is part of the work. Awareness transforms rest into nourishment. When you rest, rest completely. Notice the breath, the sensations in the body, the quiet between thoughts. Do not use rest as a hiding place from responsibility, and do not use work as an escape from rest. Each has its proper time. Many mistakes are born from exhaustion disguised as dedication. A tired mind creates more problems than it solves. When you allow yourself to recover, clarity returns, decisions improve. Effort becomes precise rather than forceful. Rest with awareness also teaches restraint. Instead of endless distraction, choose forms of rest that settle the mind. Stillness, gentle movement, silence, or simple presence. These forms of rest leave you clearer than before. When guilt is released, rest becomes honest. You no longer bargain with yourself or rush to justify stillness. You recognize that sustained productivity depends on renewal. A well-rested mind works steadily, without drama. This habit restores balance. By resting fully and working fully, you avoid burnout and maintain continuity. Productivity then becomes something you can return to each day, rather than something you exhaust. Perfection often disguises itself as discipline, but it is closer to fear. The fear of being judged, the fear of wasting effort, the fear of being incomplete. When perfection leads, work slows, decisions are delayed, energy drains into endless refinement. Attachment to perfection narrows the mind. Instead of moving forward, attention circles what is missing, what could be better, what might go wrong. Productivity suffers not because standards are high, but because completion is resisted. To release attachment to perfection is not to abandon care. It is to understand that growth requires movement. A task completed imperfectly teaches more than a task never finished. When you allow work to be done, it can improve over time. When you refuse to finish, nothing evolves. Notice how often perfection is used as an excuse to postpone action. The mind waits for ideal conditions, perfect clarity, perfect confidence. These rarely arrive. Action creates clarity, not the other way around. When you loosen your grip on perfection, the body relaxes, the breath softens, work flows again. You begin to trust the process rather than control every outcome. This trust reduces fatigue and increases consistency. Mistakes are not signs of failure, they are signs of engagement. A mind willing to err is a mind willing to learn. Over time, this openness produces better results than rigid precision. This habit teaches courage. By releasing perfection, you allow steady progress. Productivity becomes continuous rather than stalled. What matters is not flawlessness, but forward movement with awareness. Discipline is often misunderstood as harshness. Many believe it requires constant pressure and denial. In truth, discipline is a form of care. It exists not to punish the mind, but to protect what matters from being eroded by distraction and impulse. Without discipline, freedom dissolves into reaction. The day is shaped by moods, cravings, and interruptions. With discipline, space is created, space to think, to focus, to act with intention. Discipline draws clear boundaries so that energy is not wasted deciding again and again. When habits are stable, the mind rests. It no longer negotiates whether to begin. It simply begins. This simplicity is freedom. You are freed from internal conflict and delay. Discipline removes friction, allowing effort to move smoothly. Protecting freedom means saying no to many small temptations, not because they are wrong, but because they scatter attention. Each small indulgence seems harmless, yet together they fracture the day. Discipline gathers the mind back into wholeness. This kind of discipline is quiet. It does not announce itself. It appears as consistency. The same time for work, the same space for focus, the same commitment to begin, even when motivation is absent. When discipline serves freedom, it feels supportive rather than restrictive. You are no longer forcing yourself. You are safeguarding your ability to do meaningful work. Over time, this habit builds trust in yourself. A disciplined mind is not rigid, it is reliable. Through reliability, productivity becomes steady. Through steadiness, life gains room to breathe. Discipline is often misunderstood as harshness. Many believe it requires constant pressure and denial. In truth, discipline is a form of care. It exists not to punish the mind, but to protect what matters from being eroded by distraction and impulse. Without discipline, freedom dissolves into reaction. The day is shaped by moods, cravings, and interruptions. With discipline, space is created. Space to think, to focus, to act with intention. Discipline draws clear boundaries so that energy is not wasted deciding again and again. When habits are stable, the mind rests. It no longer negotiates whether to begin. It simply begins. This simplicity is freedom. You are freed from internal conflict and delay. Discipline removes friction, allowing effort to move smoothly. Protecting freedom means saying no to many small temptations, not because they are wrong, but because they scatter attention. Each small indulgence seems harmless, yet together they fracture the day. Discipline gathers the mind back into wholeness. This kind of discipline is quiet. It does not announce itself. It appears as consistency, the same time for work, the same space for focus, the same commitment to begin, even when motivation is absent. When discipline serves freedom, it feels supportive rather than restrictive. You are no longer forcing yourself. You are safeguarding your ability to do meaningful work. Over time, this habit builds trust in yourself. A disciplined mind is not rigid, it is reliable. Through reliability, productivity becomes steady. Through steadiness, life gains room to breathe. Each evening offers a mirror. Most people avoid it. They rush forward, carrying the weight of the day without looking at it. Or they look only to judge, counting failures and replaying mistakes. Neither habit brings clarity. Reflection is meant to illuminate, not to punish. To reflect without judgment is to observe the day as it was. Notice what supported focus and what disturbed it. Notice when intention was present and when it was forgotten. This is not a trial, it is a study. When the mind studies itself calmly, learning happens naturally. Judgment tightens the mind. It turns reflection into self-attack. When the mind feels threatened, it hides or resists. Productivity does not improve under blame. It improves under understanding. Understanding opens space for change. Set aside a few quiet moments each evening. Let the breath settle. Review the day gently, as if watching the flow of a river. Where did effort feel smooth? Where did it feel strained? What distracted you? What nourished you? No need to fix anything yet. This habit builds awareness across time. Small patterns become visible. You begin to see how sleep, food, noise, and emotion shape your work. With this seeing comes choice. Change becomes simpler because it is informed. Reflection without judgment restores dignity to effort. Even difficult days are allowed to teach. Even unfinished work is respected. When the day is met with kindness, the mind rests more deeply. From this rest, tomorrow begins with greater clarity. Productivity then becomes cumulative, shaped by quiet learning rather than force. Habits are the architecture of life. They shape how energy flows, how decisions are made, and how time is spent. Many pursue productivity as if it is an external goal, yet the true source lies in the habits that guide each day. When habits serve the ego, chasing recognition, rewards, or comparison, effort becomes exhausting and fragile. When habits serve life itself, work feels natural, steady, and meaningful. To build habits that serve life is to choose actions that sustain attention, nurture clarity, and honor your well-being. Each morning's intention, each task completed fully, each moment of rest, and each reflection in the evening, all are threads in a pattern. When woven consciously, this pattern carries the mind effortlessly toward purpose. Observe which habits support your clarity and which erode it. Replace distraction with focus, haste with presence, judgment with awareness. Small, consistent choices accumulate more power than grand gestures. A life built on mindful habits moves with rhythm rather than friction. Do not seek to force perfection or speed. Instead, cultivate steadiness. Let discipline protect freedom. Let rest restore energy. Let reflection teach wisdom. Over time, these habits transform not only work, but the mind itself. Productivity becomes not a pursuit, but a natural expression of how you live. Ultimately, the measure of a productive life is not the number of tasks completed, but the quality of attention, care, and presence given to each moment. When habits serve life, each day feels full, each action meaningful, and each moment aligned. In this alignment, effort becomes effortless, and the mind moves with ease through all that is to be done. We have explored 10 habits that cultivate true productivity, not as a race against time, but as a mindful way of living. Begin your day with intention, choosing clarity over urgency. Focus fully on one task at a time, guarding the mind from noise and distractions. Work in harmony with your natural energy, treating even small tasks as meaningful practice. Rest deeply without guilt and release the pressure of perfection, allowing progress to grow naturally. Use discipline to protect your freedom, reflect on each day without judgment, and build habits that serve life rather than the ego. These habits are simple in concept but powerful in practice. You can start today by selecting one small habit to strengthen, perhaps beginning the morning with intention or pausing fully before starting a task. Notice how it changes your focus, your energy, and the quality of your day. Small, consistent steps create lasting transformation. I invite you to bring these habits into your own life. Try them, observe the effects, and share your experience in the comments. If this video brought clarity or inspiration, please like, share it with others who may benefit, and subscribe to the channel so that together we can continue exploring ways to live with presence, purpose, and peace.